Hi, I'm Mike Bellevue, and today we're out at Duelist Den, and we're going to be shooting a project I've been working on, which are combustible paper cartridges, and we're going to be shooting them in my Uberti 1860 Army. Now, if you've seen the other videos in this series, you saw me actually making these cartridges, and look at them, and then modifying the 1860 to be able to load them. So today we're going to put all that work to the test and see how they shoot and how the gun handles them. And we're going to be testing two different kinds of cartridges, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. So let's go get them loaded up, and then we'll take it out to the range. Alright, well, back in the 1860s, paper cartridges were probably the more common way to load these revolvers, more common than loose powder and ball. And basically they came in packages like this. This is a replica of ones that Colt made themselves. There were a number of companies making these things. They made hundreds of thousands during the Civil War. But typically, you know, your average frontiersman didn't roll his own. He was no more a reloader than we are at this point, or the typical man on the street. I mean, he went to the hardware store and bought a couple of boxes of these and shot them sparingly because cartridges were fairly expensive. Well, it's time to load up the 1860 Army with paper cartridges. And today we're actually going to be shooting two different kinds of paper cartridges. We're going to be shooting cartridges made out of cigarette rolling paper, like these. And this pretty much follows John Gurney's plan exactly. So if you've seen the video of me making paper cartridges, these are the ones you've seen me make. And I've shot a number of these already, and they work just fine. And we're going to be testing those alongside these cartridges. And these are made out of nitrated coffee filter paper. This is just standard coffee filters that you'd use in your brewer to make coffee. And they're treated with potassium nitrate, and they're essentially made the same way that John Gurney's cartridges are, except with the cigarette papers you really don't have to cut or measure anything. If you take, say, double wides, you just cut them in half and roll two cartridges out of them, and it's pretty simple. With the filter paper, you actually have to make a template. They're a little bit thicker, so the cigarette paper wraps twice around that mandrel and makes the cartridge a little bit stronger. With the filter paper, they're already thicker and stronger, so you just want to go around once. So you have to just make a template and then trace them and cut them out. And of course cut out the circles for the bottoms. So we're going to see if they both burn up completely, how they behave, and we'll just have a little bit of fun. So let's get them loaded. Well, we're going to start off with the cigarette rolling paper cartridges. I'm going to start by putting the revolver on half cock so it spins. And I'm just going to pull out a cartridge. And if you saw the video of modifying the 1860, you know that all of this area where my thumb is basically had to be relieved so that it would be able to fit the cartridge. So now it loads in and we can sink it. And we're good. Make sure we got a little clearance there. The bullet noses on these Johnson & Dow bullets, and the bullets on these cartridges, by the way, are cast with a Johnson & Dow replica bullet mold that's being marketed by Era's Gone Bullet Mold Company, Mark Hubbs, and you can check them out on Facebook at Era's Gone and pick them up. It's a great little mold. I've got a video on how to cast these and how to make paper cartridges. These have a very long ogive, so you really have to seat them pretty much as far down as they can be seated, and that's why you can't use the heavier powder charges that you can in some other cartridges. I've loaded some with other bullets where you can get up to 30 grains and be able to load them. You can do about 28 grains with these. But that long point on the bullet has got to be seated about as deep as it can to get by. I'm going to load 5 of these, which is the way I like to do it. I know we could load 6, and I'm sure some of you are going to complain that I should just load 6 and use the safety notches, but I like to load all of my single actions the same, as I've told you. Make sure we're lined up here. There we go. Now I'm taking my time here because I'm on camera, which makes it, a little more complex to load. But basically, I think you can see that this is going quite a bit faster than, and I'll just do this one at normal speed, that this goes quite a bit faster than loading up loose powder, balls, and wads. The downside with this is these bullets really are not lubricated. They have a lube groove, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. Get everything loaded. So there we are. We are in. Get it empty up here. Okay. So they have a lube groove right here, and the way that would typically be lubed is to roll out a very, very thin snake of pure beeswax and fill it in there. It's very difficult. I've actually lubed a few of these, and I've used a beeswax and lamb's tallow mix, heavy on the beeswax, but I'll tell you what, it is incredibly labor consuming. So I'm just going to end up punching the bore every 10 rounds. That should keep us good to go with a cleaning patch. But there we go, loaded up, just a matter of putting caps on, and we're in business. Well, Evil Roy is up to his old tricks, terrorizing the residents of Blymeyers Hollow. So let's take our 1860 Army, loaded with combustible paper cartridges, and see if we can put him in his place. Colt once again stops evil in its tracks. We just shot the cigarette papers, and what I'm looking to see is how much unburned stuff we left behind. And for the most part, everything is burned up except, let's see if I can get it out here, except this in one chamber. And what this is the end cap that's glued over. Now you can see, I hope you can see that we burned right through the back of it, set the powder off, no problem. The sides didn't burn. And the reason for that is probably because of the amount of glue that was on it. And that's the only one that didn't, which is excellent news. So I probably got a little bit too heavy a glue on this. I've experimented with a bunch of different glues because the first batch I had, pretty much all of them did that. And that's when I was using the wood glue to glue down the back. What I've done is I've changed over to gluing the sides and gluing the back on with Elmer's stick glue, because I can put a very light coating on it, but it's got really good tack. I've tried a bunch of different glues, and the more liquidy glues just don't have enough tack to hold it quickly enough so that you can get everything to set. I mean, you have to hold it for a long time until things dry, and they tend to saturate. But that stick glue works very well. So I'm happy to see I only got one of those left over, because that can mess you up by blocking the touch hole for the next one you load in there. So 4 out of 5 on the cigarette papers did very well. So Now we'll move on to loading with the coffee filter papers, and we'll go plaster Evil Roy again. Well, Evil Roy did not learn his lesson from the first round of paper cartridges, so I loaded up the 1860 with some coffee filter paper cartridges, and let's see how they do. All right, that's a pretty good group on poor old Roy. Okay, in this one, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there are two that have a little bit of paper left. And these are the coffee filters, of course. Turn off that flashlight. Just get my pin and fish them out. Let's see, there's this one. See what I mean there? Well, let's see what a couple of these big conical bullets can do to a pair of 2-liter water bottles. Whacked them solid. Well, the 2 liters went pretty well, so let's try a couple of 1 liters, see how we do with those. That last one thought he was a tough guy. Well, I'm back in Swing City with Swingin' Sam and the Circle Gang, and I'm going to see how those big Johnson & Dow conicals whack them. Get them all! And we'll finish up with the bad guys view.